Customers are goldmine. Everything you need to know is in their heads. If you are concerned about competition, it's good to know what they're doing, but double down on customers. Everything you need is in their heads, in their hearts, and go learn that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into startup strategies to help you break the 10K MRR barrier. And if you're just joining and you cracked the 10K MRR milestone, congrats. First of all, it's a very exciting milestone. It means you have customers who are willing to pay for what you've got. And that's amazing news. And today we're going to talk about how to take that momentum and break through the 10K. And certainly, I still remember those days as an entrepreneur. Scaling my company at Tech in parent communication called ClassTag, and we scaled to 5 million parents and teachers through product-led growth as well as B2B monetization. And today I'm going to share with you the lessons learned, the strategies, and of course what I am now sharing with my mentors and helping them scale to 100K MRR and beyond, really leaning into the key strategies that's working for them, that's working for their customers, and driving the scalable growth that we all want and need. So the good news is that you got here. The good news is that you have customers who want what you've got and they are paying you. And that's no easy task to accomplish. So that's the great news, that you have something that's starting to churn, that's starting to work. The bad news is that what got you here will not get you there. Typically, in my own experience, and again, with founders I mentor, what you need to start doing after 10K and really to scale is something more scalable, right? So perhaps you use your personal networks to get your first 10 or dozen customers, depending obviously on your average customer contract. You leveraged various things that don't scale. Maybe like in my experience, I grabbed my first 100 teachers by hand in New York City, just leveraging various parenting groups that I was a part of. But those things, they don't really scale. You can't really build a sustainable business, venture scale business, leveraging those moves. So you need to learn the new moves, the new strategies, and especially how to stack them, right? I really believe that it is critical not only to know the strategies, but to know which is the sequence of applying these strategies, because you can be doing all of the right things, but in the wrong order. And so that can also, unfortunately, not lead to the kind of result that you want and that you need and that you can get. Briefly about me, my name is Vlada Lotkina. For those who don't know me, I'm a founder and CEO of Elev8or Lab. It's a coaching program where we help startup founders grow with confidence and without borders, so they can go from idea to scale, idea to exit, whatever their plans are, and do that with the right network and support. We're also very selective about the founders we work with because we put our name, our efforts, and our networks to work for them. So that's why if you are a serious founder, ready to grow, certainly pay attention till the end. You'll have a special offer available to you. And in the meantime, I want to start with the top 3 strategies. The number 1 strategy and a general mindset is your customers, the dozen or so customers that you already got, are a gold mine. And you need to learn everything there is to learn about them, right? So there is a lot of conversation, obviously, about ideal customer persona, right? Understanding their goals, what is really the use case for what they're using your product for, how does it impact their life, their work, their ambition. But one thing that I think is important on the profile side is really understanding the actual person and the persona, right? Even if you're selling B2B, at the end of the day, you're always selling to people. You're building relationships with people. So understanding their backgrounds of these people, understanding what specifically it helps them do, right? There is this famous quote from old days, nobody gets fired for buying IBM. And that's still very true that you have to find that personal motivation oftentimes to really unlock your next level of growth. And what does it help a person do in addition to helping the business do? And so, for example, in my experience scaling ClassTag, we helped teachers really unlock the potential for the students. And so, of course, the software did many other things. It helped them save time. It helped them reach out to parents and a lot of more kind of speeds and feeds, more functional things. But the key to unlocking that motivation for the teachers was student impact, because that's why teachers went into teaching, is to help all students be successful. And so that was a big driver for us in kind of unlocking in our messaging once we understood sort of teachers beyond just the very interactions of the platform. The other piece about customers that you've got is understanding what content they want to consume. What are the key problems surrounding your problem area? Who do they trust? What associations they are a part of? Where they learn about new tools, which influencers they follow, what are the opportunities for you maybe to leverage that network to go and present in their associations and various affinity groups. And so really going deep in uncovering your go-to-market and your content levers is going to serve you to be the foundation of your go-to-market strategy. So if you haven't really focused in talking to your customers about the aspect that can support your go-to-market, it's going to be really key. And then the last bit of customers as a core asset in goldmine is, of course, case studies and your testimonials. In our experience, one of the things we've done in the early days, and it really propelled 2x, 3x year over year growth that we needed to be on the venture train, was uncovering, for example, what the customers were switching from, right? And so that's usually the easiest customers to take if you are in a market where there were pre-existing solutions and now they're graduating for your solution. The easiest way, the cheapest way is to take customers who already understand the general value of what you are providing, but you have a better product. And so in our case, we found out through surveys and interviews that 70% of our early teachers were switching from two major platforms that were in the market before we started ClassTag. And so we really doubled down on it, but also doubled down in a way, not because saying that we think our product is better, but doubling down on what teachers were saying who were graduating from those platforms to ours. And that was really magically amplified with paid media that allowed us to scale very quickly. But again, it was leaning into the core customer, core persona. And so they were on the front lines as our spokespeople. That's usually the easiest lever to use, unless you obviously go partnership route and other things. But again, in order to establish who are the best partners for you, you have to go back to your customers and understand what are the workflows around your product. What do they do right before? What do they do right after? Which tools they love? How you can really create 1 + 1 = 3 with those potential partnerships, and that can inform also your partnership strategy. So everything you need to know about your go-to-market is with your customers. So go talk to them. And really ideate different strategies and different ways that you can lean into go-to-market, leveraging how your existing customers buy. Strategy number 2 that is really critical. You have to build a scalable go-to-market at this stage that is right for your business model. What I mean by that is, let's say you have an average deal value that's less than $5,000. If you're trying to build a scalable direct sales model at that level of average contract value, you would just not be able to sustain your unit economics, because your salespeople will be just too costly to do that. However, if your average deal value is much higher than that, then of course you can do the proper direct sales, and you can sustain longer sales cycles, more long-term investment, etc. Right? So, of course, at the heart of building a scalable go-to-market model is building what's right for your business, right? It has to do with average contract value. It has to do with your sales cycle, and has to do with your unit economics, right? At the end of the day, you have to look at the cost to acquire the customers and at LTV. And as an early stage startup, you don't know much about LTV quite yet. How many years will that customer stay? So I think it's conservative to really look at your contract value to start with, because you want to close that unit economic gap as soon as you can. If you are looking to raise funding, you have to show that you have strong unit economics. Or if you don't want to raise funding, even more important, you need strong unit economics to be a sustainable business. So that's a core of moving from various sort of grabbing techniques and doing whatever you can to get those first dozen customers to really building a scalable go-to-market machine. And so what that means is, in our case, for example, we started selling to schools and initially had a direct sales model, and very quickly realized, as I'm preaching now to you and supporting other founders and working with, is that it just doesn't scale, right? With long sales cycle and a low dollar value of the contract, you can't really sustain this sales-led machine. So what we did instead was really focus on product-led growth. So effectively, our whole product became the funnel. And then we started automating more and more aspects of actually converting it to a sale. So it was moving from product-led and sort of sales assist towards really self-service and self-help and self-sales motion. And that is the sustainable model if your deal value is less than 5,000. And of course, you don't do it with one go. You do it iteratively, but you have to know what kind of business model you're building. Don't try to build 3 different business models, B2C, B2B, product-led, all of the above. You iterate and you see what's working, and then you double down on it. If I'm personally a fan of sales-led motions, I think that if you look at the list of the most valuable companies these days and kind of new unicorns, majority of them are B2B SaaS businesses. And what's cool about it is that you have bigger chunks and it's really faster time to revenue, if you will, depending, of course, on the dynamics. But as a general rule, there is stronger retention. On the other hand, so you can see really that upward hockey stick that everyone wants much faster. And so if you're in that situation and you're in 10K, my suggestion is to really think about how you're going to scale your outbound, because again, that's the fastest way. You can be building that content, you can building other ways. But if you are in those early days, what I often recommend is hiring SDRs. They can be contractors. They can be effectively your typically hiring in pairs. So you can hire 2 people and just really benchmark their performance while continuing at this stage your founder-led sales. But you need more leads, right? Because typically as a founder, your attention is very fragmented. You are doing product, you're doing fundraising, you're doing sales, etc. And so in order for you to really be able to drive growth, the first people I would add to the go-to-market team are the SDRs. Again, add them in pairs so you can directly benchmark, you can train, and that will start building the momentum for your pipe. And as you are looking to close those the deal. So that's my second advice. Build scalable go-to-market that's right for your business model. That's really key. And has to be a deliberate choice as you think through the business model. Specifically, not to say that your business model can change and can't evolve, but at any point in time, you should have clarity about how you are monetizing and what is the motion that you are testing and building in order to do that. All right. Here's strategy number 3, and this one is so often overlooked. I probably half of the founders that come to me at Elev8or Lab, they often come, let's say, at 30K or so MRR. And then once you start unpacking that, they have three segments they're serving right now, maybe small, medium, large companies. They have different use cases that they buy their solution for. And so when they do any sort of product market fit analysis or really understanding the value, it's all noise, right? Because they're using it for different things and to solve slightly different problems. And then lastly, they have different go-to-market channels that are needed to reach them. So now, instead of having a single value proposition that's directed to a single persona in a single channel and trying to scale it to $1 million plus, you have to scale 9 or more permutations of this. And this is the most important thing. If there is one thing you remember from this talk about breaking 10K MRR barrier, is really leaning into what's working and leaning into one persona, one value proposition, and one channel until you reach 1 million. And again, startups are all about iteration, right? So that can change over time as you learn more. But at any point in time, that clarity is so critical, because if you don't have clarity, if you don't know exactly who you're talking to, why you're talking to them, and how to reach them, and really putting all your limited resources into those buckets, you just can't win. Most markets are too competitive to do it. And so, for example, in our experience, what we found is we were serving all teachers in the early days of ClassTag, and that became very challenging, because even within one profession, such as teachers, there's still a lot of different pockets of what they really want and need. And so we doubled down on one segment, which was K-2 teachers, those that don't use kind of learning management platforms, and parents are really engaged and need to be engaged in particular in those. And then as a second dimension, we leaned into ESL, or in where diverse populations are, so-called Title I schools in the United States. And so all that to show you that you have to be very specific and win your pond, win your segment first, because that gives you now very concrete things you need to go write about, very specific conferences to go to, very specific partnership to do. And that just builds the momentum. That builds really what you need to do to scale. Oftentimes, word of mouth, of course, is a big part of it. Even if you don't have a specific referral program that you're looking to build, you just gain momentum by creating the density within a specific persona, within specific channels, and look for those signals, look for what's working, and really, really double down on that until you hit $1 million plus before you start branching out, right? Another amazing quote that I love is that most companies die of indigestion, not starvation. So as you think about those persona and how to really double down, remember this, right? Sort of focus is key. And again, I learned the hard way as entrepreneur getting started. And the more we got specific, the more we leaned into specific messaging. That allowed us to have not only product market fit with the customers, to make sure that the customers we're bringing in can be retained, they get the kind of value, and allow us to evolve our product in a way that is really aligned with their goals and getting deeper in meeting those goals, but also aligned on the messaging front. Because oftentimes what I'm seeing with founders, again, is that their product might have a really strong product market fit once they handhold their customers through onboarding. But now, as you're looking to scale, you need the messaging, the onboarding, the other elements to do the work for you. And that is exponentially easier to do when you have one persona, one channel, one value proposition. So that's strategy number 3. So to recap, we have customers are goldmine. Everything you need to know is in their heads. If you are concerned about competition, it's good to know what they're doing, but double down on customers. Everything you need is in their heads, in their hearts, and go go learn that. Number two is build go-to-market strategy that's scalable and right for your business model. So we talked about different deal value and how that impacts the kind of go-to-market you should be building and testing out. And number three, until you hit 1 million ARR, do one thing, one persona, one value proposition, and one channel. And even though I feel like a broken record, I don't think I can say it enough. It's something that I learned the hard way, and now I'm so excited to support founders to really identify that strong signal and really double down on it, because that just exponentially increases their success and waste of resources that you have otherwise. And we are ready for questions. I will have Eva, who is a growth strategist here at Elev8or Lab. She will join me in a moment. But in the meantime, I'll tell you about special offers. So as a coaching program, of course, what we covered today is just a tip of the spear, is a very high level strategies. And of course, they have to be specific to each founder. Plus, of course, being in your corner, going through ups and downs of entrepreneurial journey. And that's exactly what the mentorship is for. It played a huge part in my life when I was building a company. And so now it's a big give back. So for founders who are serious about scaling and going way north of 10K MRR, I invite you to go to my LinkedIn profile. You can take a moment now and DM growth. And we'll schedule a free growth session with you to look at specifically your situation and give you advice on what levers you should be testing and looking at. And then we can explore if you're a fit for Elev8or program, which is opportunity to skip the steps and elevate your growth, and 12-week mentorship program where we design specific program for you. We test different strategies with you, and you get really someone in your corner who's been there and done that, and elevating your growth with confidence so you can avoid various mistakes. And of course, in the early days, a lot of mistakes can be deadly, especially in this climate. And if you are reliant on funding and from investors, angels, etc., it is important that you sustain your hockey stick growth. And that's where that scaling and what we talked about is really key as you set your eyes towards your next fundraising milestones. And you guys can DM me in the meantime. I do see a bunch of DMs coming in already. So thank you. And for those who haven't, listen up to the questions of others and contribute yours as well. Hi, Eva. Nice to see you.
Hi. Hello.
Would you like to briefly introduce yourself, and then we can dive into questions?
Yes. So I'm Eva, and I spent the last 12 years in various growth roles at tech startups, including the last 7 years with Vada at Plastic, and now supporting founders at Elev8or Lab. We do have one question, and I think it's an interesting one. I'm really curious about aligning the team around that scaling mindset. Because often I think getting to the next level, that really means some culture change before maybe any way to get that customer was fair game. And beyond 10K, we are entering a stage of more deliberate planning, more processes. So the question is how to get the team on board with that.
Yeah, it's an amazing question. And I think there is alignment of the team, but it's also, I think, impacting kind of who you're looking to recruit. And maybe the people that you recruited in the beginning are not exactly the kind of profile that you need now. And so you get into some of the challenging but important conversations about alignment of the team roles to support the new milestone, the new phase of growth. So I'll talk about alignment of the team first, and then maybe a little bit about the roles. I think alignment from the team at the end of the day, at this stage, still comes from the feeling of partnership. For me, it's really important that in still at this stage, we're all co-founders, even though our early employees, right, I would always view them as co-founders because they have to have their hands in the plan. And because they need to have a lot of agility, right? At this stage, you still don't have a working strategy where you can bring this, amazing top level VP and you give them a strategy and then they go execute, right? Or a playbook, right? It's still a stage of building the playbook. So what is needed is really an opportunity and the mindset of documenting what are the experiments you're running, and how do you know if you're successful, and then what is the time frame, right? So everyone needs to turn into a bit of a scientist now that we are looking for signal, right? And I think, Eva, you in particular have done it really well, not only establishing the goals for, hey, this month we want to break, this barrier, but we had these really fun plans. Like we had a 10x growth model, right? Where we were saying, hey, what does it take, right? And you were building that model, right? We just came up with this BHAG goal, but everyone on the team, I think, has to really understand what does it take, right? And sort of what are the different knobs you can move in order for it to work. Is that fair?
Yes, definitely. I think at this stage, you are really looking for people ready to take ownership and people with curiosity that really enjoy seeing the numbers grow. And it's almost like a game that becomes somewhat addictive. I think that's the kind of people you want on the team at that stage. So we have another quick question from Jess, who is asking, what's one piece of advice you would give to founders who are close to reaching the 10K MRR but feel stuck?
Well, I think, certainly people get stuck for different reasons. I think that one of the biggest issues, I would say, just looking across different founders, is I think that is lack of clarity, right? And I talked about it several times and repeat, but if you don't have clarity about the persona you are pursuing, that becomes very challenging to scale because you are effectively paralyzed. You don't know which conferences to go to, which content to write, which outreach strategies work, right? Because if you are trying to be everything to everyone, and maybe your initial dozen or so customers had, all different profiles, that becomes very hard to find the signal. And so you have to continue to experiment and see which type of customer can I get 2, 3, 4, 5 more of, right? So that becomes my signal. And I don't think, honestly, there is a single answer usually, right? There are probably wrong answers, but I don't think there is a single right answer. You just need to know to look for that signal and be very deliberate about finding it. And I think that brings us back to this idea of taking ownership and being scientists, because, until, let's say, we found some signals, right? We've tried 5 different things, and that just, and that also in a way goes back to your mindset as a founder, as an early team members, is that you just can't look at it as failure, right? You have to be motivated by saying, oh, this experiment failed. Have fun. Let's go find something that's working, right? I know it's really, really hard to do. We're all normal people. We want to succeed, and not only normal, most founders are type A, ambitious, and they want to succeed, right? But you just need to be ready for the motions.
Yes, and I think also it's so tempting to skip this step and skip the research step, because you want so badly to the numbers to improve and to make the sale. But it feels like a shortcut in the moment, but it's really not.
Yeah, and I think that's actually an excellent point, because what happens is, if you pour a lot of dollars, let's say you just raise around your 10K MRR, and then you say, oh my God, I need to get to $1 million ASAP. I have this chunk of cash. And you're saying, okay, let's pour it into marketing. Let's scale. But if what you have is not ready for scaling, then you're going to waste a lot of money. And at the end of this process, these customers will not be retained, and you will not have money. And so then you're really screwed at the end of this process. So And I would say one of the big learnings for me and something I'm sharing with founders is, of course, when you have investors, you have pressure to grow fast even more, right? You promise them this hockey stick growth, you show them the plans. But if in your gut as a founder, you feel that you are not ready to scale and some early tests are telling you you are not, don't do it. Go back to your investors and tell them, guys, I don't want to waste your money. Here's my new plan where we spend another, 2 months or 3 months even doubling down on our research persona, this, that product, something, right? That really trying and testing things until you see something that's really stands out and allows you to lean in, because otherwise you're going to put yourself in a hole, and from that hole is much harder to get out of than the hole when you have the money. And I think that again brings us back to mentorship, because as a first-time founder, it's just really, really hard to have the confidence to face the investors. And many times investors will not volunteer that idea that you need to change the plan right after you've raised. But if you are in that situation, it's really important. And at the end of the day, they are looking for your long-term success. They want a big exit, not the fact that you go from 10K MRR to 30K MRR, and that's going to be the end of it, right? They're investing on the premise that you have millions of dollars in MRR by the time you're looking to exit the business. If you guys are looking to grow and you're a serious founder, please find my LinkedIn profile and DM growth. And again, I will offer for the webinar listeners a free growth session where we can unpack your specific challenges and strategies you can apply. And then we will evaluate if you're a fit for our program. Again, we are selective about who we work with. We go all in terms of mentorship, network, and that's why certainly it has to be a mutual fit. So please reach out on LinkedIn with a DM growth, and we can take it from there. It was so wonderful to talk about breaking 10K barrier, and I am excited to hear which advice resonated with you. And that's about it. I think it's a wrap. Thank you, guys.